Good morning, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with the pre-market prep. I got quite a few stocks to go over this morning, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the markets. Uh, we are looking at a little bit of a gap up in the markets this morning, and that is primarily, I think, due to the fact that we haven't uh, started any military action with Syria, and that could be short-lived. Also some more saber rattling coming out of China. Both of these things, one headline, and that could make the markets nervous. Yesterday we had a bit of a hawkish Fed. That made the markets a little bit nervous, but I think we're really going to kind of chop around a bit until we get into the heart of earnings season, which will be up in the next couple of weeks. And we'll see what the financials do for the markets first thing tomorrow morning. Financials, interestingly, were pretty weak yesterday. We did get some numbers out of BlackRock, which beat, and we'll see what happens with financials tomorrow as we get some big names, J.P. Morgan, Citibank, and the like, reporting Wells Fargo tomorrow morning. So, look, I think we're going to be in a bit of a choppy market. We have been for a little bit. We'll see what happens over the next week or so, and be prepared for one headline that could turn the markets around very quickly. So, uh, right now, gold gapping down a little bit here. Oil also pulling back, and maybe that's because geopolitical tensions are lightening up a little bit, but that can change in a very quick fashion. I still like energy. It's pulling back right now in pre-market, but I still like it, and I think gold is something that you still want to keep an eye on, uh, just in case bombs start flying. So uh, keep an eye on those. But let's take a look at some stocks that are on my radar this morning. This NTWK just announced a $1 million contract. There are now not no specifics on the contract. It's a 5-year contract. Don't know what the dollar amount is. It does have an interesting setup on the daily time frame. It's been consolidating just over the 200-day moving average. The big issue with this stock, though, it only traded 5,600 shares yesterday, so very thin. Not a lot of liquidity. Let me see if it's doing anything here in pre-market. NTWK is not doing anything in pre-market. You have to have some volume, some liquidity to be able to trade this thing. I have actually traded this in the past as a speculative swing. I've done well in it. Haven't looked at it in quite a while. It is, like I said, it has an interesting pattern on the daily time frame. We've broken over this long-term trend line. We're sitting on top of the 200 day and flirting with the 50-day moving average, but you've got to get some volume in order to be able to trade it. Worth at least having on the radar, recognizing for what it is. It could be a lotto type play that you play size appropriate, right? All right, let's take a look at a couple of other names here. We talked about Pixie, which actually had a nice little pop yesterday. Now they have earnings on Friday, so you got to be careful with this one. Um, if you're going to play it, you look to maybe play it heading into earnings. Now it's already had a couple of days. This could be the last day of the move. Maybe you get a red to green and test up into the $4 area heading into earnings, but I would not hold this through earnings. Worth keeping an eye on, though. Again, you want to see some volume. Some pretty good volume yesterday. 500,000 shares traded hands. This one could be worth watching for a day trading opportunity. ALRN, let's see, had some news after the close. It looked like we're at an area of potential support right around 625. ALRN, let's see if it's doing anything in pre-market here. We are gapping to about $7.50. Let's see, we've got 10 million shares in the float, fairly small float. Now 750 is going to put us uh, actually at some potential price resistance. We can take that out. Got a lot of resistance overhead. Got the 20-day, got the 50-day, and then we got a trend line to contend with. Maybe this gets a red to green again. Look for some volume. Traded 250,000 shares yesterday. Decent amount of volume, but it's got to have some resistance overhead. Could be worth keeping an eye on for a day trading opportunity. I would not chase this one. Look for a good intraday setup. RADA had a little bit of a pop yesterday. Aerospace and defense sector did take out this trend line, but coming up into resistance at $2.50. Maybe we look for a red to green here. Pull back to 225 or so. Let me take a look at RADA. It has a tendency to be a pop and flopper. It's looking at, let's see, what are we at right now? We are at about, we tagged 245. We pulled back to 239. Like I said, 225, somewhere in that area. Maybe that holds the support for a bounce. Pretty decent volume yesterday. 461,000 shares. It's only got 22 million shares in the float. Aerospace defense sector, not a bad sector to keep an eye on as well. All right, let's keep going here. IQ. This is one that was called out by one of our pro members. Just loves the IPO space. Watching IQ, looking for it to take out its high after it went public, and potentially you get a red to green move here. This one, you don't have a lot of historical reference. There's plenty of volume though. 9.2 million shares traded hands. Lots of liquidity. Potential red to green move there, and then take out all-time highs on IQ. Day trading opportunity, maybe even a short-term swing there. HMNY, watching this one yesterday. You know, look, it's been beaten up pretty good. They've done a couple capital raises. Just looking for maybe a red to green move on this one. You know, coming up into the big movie season, and you know they just did the movie phone deal with Verizon. There's, you know, this company is losing a lot of money, it seems like, and of course as they gain more subscribers, they're going to lose more money. So they have a pretty big cash burn. But this could be an interesting day trading opportunity. Right towards the end of the day, it got a little bit of a volume spike, flirting with the $3 holla. If you can take that out with some conviction, maybe we get a nice little pop in there. You're going to have some resistance around $3.50 possibly, then around $4. It could go all the way back up. I mean, just to test the 50-day though, you're looking at $4.47 or so. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on for a day trading opportunity or a lotto ticket swing. If you take this on a red to green, say it pulls back to, I don't know, 270, 280 or so, you get a little bounce, and then maybe you hold a few shares and see if you can get some follow through, maybe get a 50-day test. But worth keeping an eye on. HMNY. QMST came out and gave some guidance last night after having somebody come out with a hit piece on it. Raised guidance. Basically this is almost pulled back to gap fill, and looking for maybe some action in this today. 23 million shares in the float. Looked like a pretty big guide on revenue. Traded 4.5 million shares. Maybe this pulls back and you get a bounce. Could be a little short squeeze there if people are believing the numbers that were just put out. But kind of an interesting look for a day trading opportunity there. I don't know much about the company, but worth keeping an eye on that one. BLCM. FDA lifted their hold. A couple of companies came out with targets over, in the $20 range for BLCM. John Najarian was actually tweeting out some of those price targets on BLCM. It's gapping this morning. It got up to about $8.95. And if you look at it, that's right where we've got the 200-day moving average overhead, right around 9 and change. So maybe a red to green move on this one as well. 20.4 million shares in the float, traded almost 500,000 shares yesterday, so you got some liquidity there. Potentially looking for a pullback into the $7.60 range, 7.70. See if that holds the support for a potential bounce on BLCM. Day trading opportunity, biotech name, right? So inherently riskier names. Could be, you take some profit out of this thing. If it can take out the 200-day, this thing could really go on a run. But um, day trade opportunity, potential higher risk swing of some lottos if you're able to lock in some gains. RETA, let's see, we had some news after the close yesterday. I think, yes. Let's see. News that bardoxolone treatment produced significant increase in kidney function through week 36. So this RETA is in an interesting spot for potential support, right around $20 or so. If you look back here on the daily time frame, we've tested this area and it's acted as support, and we're testing it once again. You've got Landberg's got a price target of $55 on this thing. I don't like the death cross, the 50-day below the 200-day. But, if we can take out this trend line, let me see if RETA is doing anything in pre-market here. All right, so we got up to about $23.50. Looks like it's sitting at about 22. Well, it looks like actually it's still there at 23.50 here. Not a lot of volume. This only got 4.6 million shares in the float. So we are taking out this trend line, and we're coming up into basically the 50-day moving average. That's where we have found some resistance, right? So we've got some price resistance in this area. Maybe what we look for is a pullback to say 22.25, 22.50, somewhere in that area. See if it acts as support for a bounce. Look for some volume. Traded 148,000 shares yesterday. You need some good volume to be able to play in this thing, but looks like decent news. Not a lot of volume in post market to pop this, but could be in play today and worth having on the radar. CYRN, another very, very thin stock. Multi-million-dollar contract this morning announced. CYRN. This is a cybersecurity play. Actually, the space was kind of hot yesterday. FireEye got a little bit of action yesterday. But this is consolidating right here over the 50-day moving average. This is a very thin stock, 25.8 million shares in the float. There will be more details coming. Let me get rid of that. There's going to be more details coming on the announcement. They're working on a joint press release with whoever their big customer is. And so this popped to about $3, testing the $3 holler this morning, and has already started to pull back a little bit. Now, this 250, 260 area is a pretty big area. So what I'm thinking is maybe on a pullback to 250, you look for some kind of a red to green. Look for 250 to hold as support for a bounce. Potential day trade, potential high risk swing in anticipation of more details coming out about who the customer is and how what the terms are. But CYRN, I think, is one to keep an eye on today. Potential day trade, potential higher risk swing ahead of the details of the deal that is announced. AAXN, had good news yesterday, had another little announcement today. Montgomery County Police Department rolls out Axon fleet and car cameras to 900 patrol vehicles. So, they keep coming out. Yesterday, I think it was 7,000 taser units deployed. 4,943 smart weapons. were ordered yesterday. And then I think yesterday, for some reason, 7,000 sticking in my head. But a lot of good numbers coming out of AAXN. Beautiful setup on the daily time frame, and this thing is all-time highs. Um, it's in all-time high territory. Fairly small float, large short interest. Uh, has all the elements of something that could get a little squeezy and go a little crazy. So I like it for a long-term hold or swing proposition. I just think that the momentum is on this company's side. CEO just restructured his pay and it tied it to stock performance. There's a lot of interesting things going on there at AAXN. So worth keeping an eye on this one. I've been watching it. Actually, I was hoping it would pull back to $40 or so to take a starter position. I'd love to get it at 37 and change, but it's been flagging out for a little bit here, and now we got some news flow. This could be in play. Let me see if it's getting anything in pre-market here. AAXN. Not doing anything off of this news announcement this morning. Um, it takes out $43 with conviction. This could get interesting. So keep an eye on AAXN for a day trade or potential swing opportunity. AMRN had some news after the close, or was that this morning? Let me look. AMRN poster presentation, I believe, 3 hours ago. 288 seems to be acting as support. Right, it's a pretty decent area of support. Looks like this was positive news. Let me see if it's doing anything in pre-market. It's not. It's not doing anything pre-market, but flirting with the 3 roll. Needs to bust above these 50-day moving averages. Now we got the death cross happening here, so I'm not super crazy about that either. But look for it to take out the 50-day. Likely going to have some resistance here at the 200, $3.50 or so. Worth keeping an eye on for a potential day trade opportunity. Don't chase it. VDTH. I wrote this down only because I saw that it was halted. Not sure what's going on there. Consolidated research. All right. All I know is that it's halted here. I don't know why. So it's on the radar. Super thin stock. Traded 7,400 shares yesterday. It's a pretty wild child. So just waiting on the news. See what the news is on this. Could be in play if it's anything significant, but as of right now, not sure why it's halted. All right, MDR. So this was on my list from the weekend of stocks to watch. They just gave preliminary guidance. They're combining with Chicago Bridge and Iron. It's at an interesting spot for potential support. It is up a little bit in pre-market, flirting with the $6 hollow. We got a potential death cross about to happen here. But let me see what's going on with MDR here in pre-market. Got up to about $6.20, which was yesterday's high. If we can take that out with some conviction, maybe we get a 7 test. This is a thicker stock. It's worth keeping an eye on. Oil and gas equipment industry, which is been a sector that seems to be making a comeback here. Worth keeping an eye on it. Look for some volume, probably more of a swing or long-term hold consideration. Just looking at the long-term trend line that we could come up and test, back this out to the weekly time frame. Just looking at this long-term trend line here. And see if maybe we come back up and test in that area around $8. That's a $2 move from where it currently sits. Not too shabby. Worth keeping an eye on it. TWTR, Twitter, got an upgrade this morning. I think it was $36 or something like that. Much thicker stock, more of a swing, more of a long-term hold type play. SCP block trade. Not sure where I saw the Twitter upgrade here. worth keeping an eye on Twitter, especially now that we've got this Zuckerberg thing. Move through it. Maybe we see some nice action there in Twitter. And I'm gonna just throw out one last one. Look, we've got GE, which is coming up, and I've mentioned this one before. I do have a little starter position in this. It's a long-term hold consideration. Had some news now. They've got they're going to have restated earnings coming up, and that could be rough for the stock. So uh, they had some headlines this morning, potential, looking at potential mergers and deleveraging some businesses. Interesting headline this morning. I think I'm tempted to maybe add to my position in this area. It looks like the 1280, 1250 area has been holding a support. I know there are some, price targets of $11 and, on GE. I look at it and say, okay, so what's your downside risk? You're looking at $2. What's your potential upside, right? Your potential upside is um, maybe 14, maybe back up into the 17 and change area. And if things really start to turn around, maybe we go back up into the $19-20 range. So I think the risk reward is starting to get pretty favorable in GE. It's a long term hold consideration. I don't expect it to be a quick turnaround. 8.6 billion shares in the float. It's definitely a thick stock, and I don't think this, like I said, I think this is going to be a long term turnaround story. But they are talking about potentially, spinning off and doing public offering, public companies, spin off of some divisions or potential mergers. So interesting stuff going on there. And I think, if it starts to get some real good headlines, uh, it could get a nice little pop in GE. So not something you have to rush into, right? Like I said, you got earnings coming out. Maybe you want to wait till after earnings before you start dipping the toe. But I think GE is one that you at least want to be keeping an eye on. And that is it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get this out. As I said before, I think we're going to chop around a bit here. Headlines, be careful of the headlines. Things can turn around quickly. And that's it. Energy, still love that sector, love the space. I think it's worth keeping an eye on energy names for sure. Keep an eye on volatility as well in case the markets does start to turn around. Uh, Likely to see more volatility. So be careful out there. Don't chase. Always have a plan. And I'll see you in the chat room in just a little bit. Look, join us. Open mic today and tomorrow. Last 2 days of the week. Open mic. And hang out with us. Talk about the markets. Pinpoint some stocks. Talk about our trades. Very cool. Look for the link on the blog or look for the link on Twitter. All right, that's it. I'll see you hopefully in the chat room, and if not, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Good luck trading.